Let's move into the next section. This is the HTTP-based APIs. We're going to do an audit of some of the most common API styles, modern API styles out there. And again, when I say modern APIs, I mean the ones that are communicating. They are served over the internet. All the communication between the client and the server is done over the internet. Okay, and this is where the fun is going to start because you're going to get to see some industry production grade APIs. Again, we're not going to use them. That's not the goal of this class. The goal is to show you what is there for every specific type and how you can deduce where you can locate data, right? Their look and feel, in other words. And we're going to start with some of the RPC style APIs. SOAP is one of the earliest RPC style APIs. It pretty much conquered the world back in the late 90s, early 2000, and all of 2000s. Let's be clear, all of 2000. I remember even when I was a developer in the early 2010s, uh, the company that I was working for at the time, they were only creating SOAP APIs. I still do not know why, but hey, that's what they were doing. Um, or some of the departments in the in the company I was working for, like not everybody was doing it, but a good chunk were. SOAP APIs pretty much conquer the world because they got something right from the get-go, and that was that interface. That interface, right? The formal document that describes the operations, the inputs, and the outputs. That they got right from the get-go. And of course, if you have something like that from the get-go, that means that you have some form of documentation that is able to help other developers consume your API. That's pretty much why they conquer the world. But if you look at SOAP API, like we're going to have a look at the PayPal API, and then we're going to have a very quick look at the Salesforce API. They both look and feel different, very different. The only thing that's constant, hey, both of them have a WSDL. That's it. Both of them have a WSDL. Now, you cannot assume anything between different APIs. Like if you know the PayPal API, you cannot assume that you can go and start working right away with the Salesforce API. You cannot make these assumptions. It's as if you start working with a different piece of code, totally different from what you were working before. Yes, there may be some similarities, especially if you're implementing CRUD type of operation, CRUD, create, retrieve, update, delete. Right? Yeah, you expect to have similar type of operations in that context, but not everything implements the CRUD paradigm, right? So that's one of the difficulties of SOAP. They're very code-like. They require developers for both the consumption and the creation of such APIs. They require extensive tooling. They're heavyweight. They have lots of extra uh, data that you need to communicate back and forth, right? It's in XML, which is a dated format. No, it shows its age. Let's put it this way. The diagram you see on the right hand side, this indicates what the workflow looks like. So the fat arrows, these are tools. So in order to go from the server implementation and create that WSDL, the web service description line, which is the interface, the contract, the specification, you gotta run your code through a tool that generates the interface. Right? So you create the code, you annotate it appropriately, you run through tools, you get the WSDL. The WSDL now is shared with your client. Now the clients are going to do very similar type of an exercise. They're going to take the WSDL, they're going to run it through tools, they're going to generate stubs for the code, and then they're going to have to fill in the blanks in the code. And that's how you pretty much produce and consume RPC style APIs. It's a developer heavy exercise. Let's put it this way, right? And only then the client can start sending requests to the server. The server will process those requests, respond back with the results. Okay, that's how it feels. That's how it looks. That's the workflow pretty much. It's not easy. I'm going to tell you right now. It's not easy. It's not my cup of tea. Mid 1000 onwards, I had already switched personally to working with RESTful APIs. RESTful APIs is coming up next. 98. We got XML RPC, very similar structure. Think of it as being so, but simplified with a very important omission. It doesn't have an interface. XML RPC does not have an interface. What it has is a specification. And the specification pretty much dictates how you need to encode your requests and your responses. We're going to see that in the exercise. I'm going to take you to the specification. 99, I remember, was my very first set of modern APIs that I built. It was XML RPC 99, right? And I worked with it until the 2001, 2002, just XML RPC, day in, day out, pretty much. So I have quite a bit of an experience, and I was really surprised to see that they're still in use, and I'll show you why they're still in use. JSON RPC, very similar to XML RPC. The difference is that instead of encoding the request and the responses in the XML format, a specific XML format, you need to encode it in a specific JSON format. That's their only difference, pretty much, right? And close to the end of my career, like 2012, 2013, I got a chance to work with JSON RPC APIs, right? So that's why to me they feel and look the same way. And then you have companies like Slack who says, the heck with you guys, with whatever you have created thus far, all the different standards that others have created thus far, they don't fit my needs. I'm going to create my own. And they said, well, let's do the same thing all over again using whatever fits our needs. And I get this question a lot. Why do we have people still working with RPC style of APIs? And the main reason why people work with RPC style APIs is because it gives you tons of freedom to do whatever you want. From the producer's perspective, keep that in mind, right? There is all kind of different actors, right? When you're dealing with APIs, you have the producer, the people who create the API, and if you use an RPC style API, it gives you the freedom to do whatever the heck you want. But then you're shooting yourself in the foot because you're going to hinder new users ramping up with your API, because you need now to provide extensive documentation in order for those new users to learn how to use your API. That's the drawback. That's the drawback. That's the major drawback of all RPC style APIs. I don't care whether they're the brand new spiffy gRPC APIs, right? Shiny gRPC APIs. I don't care whether the old school SOAP or XML RPC, they all require extensive documentation. Otherwise, your users won't know how to make heads or tails with them. Okay. So these are it. And what we're going to do next is we're going to go and explore some of these APIs. I'm going to show you how they look, how they feel, so you're able to identify them and interpret them the right way when you get to see them, right? And again, what are your users, your developers, what are they building? What type of APIs are they building, right? Because that's what you're going to get to see in the Noname platform, the APIs that your users are building, your developers, your development departments are building. And I don't know, do you have API governance rules, or is it free for all, right? And what do I mean by API governance? I mean, do you have any rules, regulations, what type of APIs your organization is creating, right? Are you creating specifications and so on? That's what I mean. And that's not only it, right? Are you using gateways? Which gateways? What do you enable? And so on. There's tons when it comes to API governance. Okay, so with this, we concluded this section, right? So the section is done for the RPC style APIs, and we're going to go and do the exercise in a separate section, a separate recording. So talk to you in the next one.